Hey, what's going on? I'm recording this in the morning because I have a feeling by the end of the day, I'm going to have a pretty bad headache. And I don't have COVID, that's for sure, but I do have some allergies, and I sometimes get migraines, and I feel one coming on. So, with the allergies, not COVID. So, what I want to do is get class started, and you can watch it on video by the time I'm probably not feeling well. So I'll be available for questions, but this will be the class. Like, so you're in class right now. And the first thing I want to do is read that Donald Trump article with you. And you may hear my email going off every so often, but I want to read that article with you, to you. And all you have to do is just sit back, relax, and then watch CNN 10 for today. And I'll have the link for that in Zoom. So basically, two links. The first you found right here. Then the other one will be the CNN 10, and then we'll call it a day. And hopefully tomorrow my allergies will be better. My headache won't be around. But I feel it coming. It's happened to me a couple times. It's rare, but I think this will be a day when my voice just doesn't do too well either. So here we go. Here's the Donald Trump article. Tomorrow we're going to read the Joe Biden article because it's election day, and I've wanted to read this thing for a while. We've started this, right? But just for, I guess we'd say, continuity's sake, just to have it all continuous, I am going to read through it, okay? It'll probably take us like 10 minutes or so. President Donald Trump begins the 2020 election in the advantageous position of already being president. Sitting presidents are hard to beat. Only 5 sitting presidents lost re-election in the 20th century. However, voters are more divided than ever in opinion polling about the president. His supporters hope that his America First stance of his first term will outweigh any damage done from his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. First term. In President Trump's first 100 days in office, his administration targeted immigration and border rules. Trump used his powers as president to stop citizens from certain countries from entering the United States. The countries were Iran, Libya, North Korea, Syria, Yemen. In January 2017, Trump signed an executive action to start constructing a wall along the Mexico border. He forced a near shutdown of the government and declared a state of emergency to move funds from other government departments to pay for the wall. Only a few miles of new wall will have, I believe it is, will have been repaired. Yeah, definitely a typo there. I remember that from when we read the first time. The 650-mile fence built under George W. Bush's administration. President Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord in 2017. The agreement addressed the effects of climate change and was signed by nearly 200 countries. Trump claimed it would harm U.S. businesses. In December 2017, Trump signed into law new tax cuts. The cuts lowered corporate taxes permanently. So corporate taxes, that would be more for business, not personal. Corporate is business. The cuts also temporarily lowered taxes for many individuals. Trump argued that the cuts would help the economy to grow and encourage businesses to hire more workers. H&R Block is a company that many people hire to do their taxes. H&R Block said that the people it calculated taxes for in 2018 paid an average of $1,200 less in 2017 because of the tax cuts. Critics, however, so going back to that last paragraph there, if you are a Trump supporter, you will say that's a good thing. The American people paid fewer taxes in 2018 But of course, everyone has critics if you're a politician. And President Trump is a Republican, so his critics are probably Democrats. Critics, however, argued that the tax cuts unfairly benefited the rich more than the poor. They say the cuts would only provide a short boost for the economy. They also said the cost of the cuts would increase the amount of debt the government has. Trump's pledge to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, hasn't been successful. However, his legislative and legal challenges have weakened elements of the law. Excuse me. And later this week, the Supreme Court is going to hear a case involving Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, and we'll see how that does. Recently, Trump replaced the unpopular North American Free Trade Agreement, this is also known as NAFTA, with the new US-Mexico-Canada Agreement, the USMCA. The USMCA, however, is by many accounts just an updated NAFTA. It adds protections for intellectual property. When we're talking about intellectual property, that means it could be a song that's written, it could be an app that is designed, something creative, something that takes the mind to develop, the environment, and data. The law does require more car and truck parts to be produced in North America, higher wages, and an easier path to unionization for Mexican workers. These provisions helped secure the support of Democrats and unions. We did spend a fair amount of time talking about unions. Remember, that strengthens the power of the worker. So teachers will belong to unions. People at Bath Iron Works will belong to unions. And if people are in a union, they're more likely to be a Democrat. If they support unions, they're more likely to be a Democrat. So this article is basically saying, even Democrats could get on board with parts of this new deal. The next part is called Key Policy Initiatives. President Trump promises more of the same in a second term. He promises tough action on undocumented migrants. Migrants are people who move around, and in this case, it would be moving into the United States from another country, and undocumented means that they're not here legally. Building the border wall, new attacks on Obamacare, and more energy production in national parks and government lands. So many Democrats would have a problem with that because they feel that land should be preserved. Many Republicans would like that because they feel that it will grow the economy. Despite Trump's promise to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, he trails President Barack Obama. During his time in office, Obama averaged 383,000 deportations a year. Trump's highest year total, by comparison, was 267,258 in 2019. He blames this in part on sanctuary cities that will not cooperate with his deportation efforts. Sanctuary cities, Democrats would not like this because, according to some, sanctuary cities will protect undocumented workers, undocumented migrants, and Democrats believe, that there should be more open borders, that the United States should accept more immigrants from other countries. Not all, but most believe that. Most Democrats believe that way. Most Republicans believe the opposite way, for the most part. Trump has a plan to plant 1 trillion trees to absorb carbon dioxide to combat climate change. So if you are in favor of protecting the environment, you might be more likely to be a Democrat. And Trump's plan to plant 1 trillion trees might also be something that Democrats like. So maybe he's trying to work with the Democrats here, according to this article. Mr. Beast, how many trees did Mr. Beast plant? Did he try to plant 1 billion? I think it was. Or was it 1 million? I can't remember. He promises that we will always protect your Medicare and always protect your Social Security. So Medicare, not all, but a lot of Medicare, a lot of people who get Medicare are older people. And when you work your whole life, you pay into Social Security and Medicare. So a lot of people that get the most benefits from Medicare, they will be older. And so it sounds like Trump is trying to get more votes from older people. You know, all politicians like votes from older people because a lot of older people, they tend to vote more than younger people. Trump has also promised new spending on roads, bridges, and buildings, which is considered a safe bipartisan issue. That word bipartisan, should make that one of the vocabulary words. It means both parties, bi meaning two, both parties can get on board with that. Both parties would like that. Presidential bid. This might be the last part. It's close to the last part. Presidential bid. Looks like something got cut off here. The president announced in 2018 that his current vice president, Mike Pence, would once again be his running partner. And that is the Republican ticket for this year's 2020 election. I'm sure you know that, but it is Trump Pence. You've probably seen some signs, maybe even some commercials for Trump Pence. Trump has roughly 113 million in cash or on hand for his, as far as we have? No, for his campaign. As of late July, according to ballotpedia.org, Joe Biden's campaign fund, excuse me, has $108 million in cash. So roughly the same. But remember, cash, money is so important in getting a president elected, any politician elected. And then we're going to close off with these two parts. Why Trump could win, why Trump could lose. Very important parts of the article. So if you're a Trump supporter, you're really going to like this first part. If you're, we call it a Trump hater, I don't know. If you disagree with a lot of President Trump's policies, you'll like the second part. Why Trump could win. Before the coronavirus outbreak, so as we know, a lot has changed after the coronavirus outbreak. Before the coronavirus outbreak, Trump benefited from a strong economy. Unemployment dropped to 3.5% in December 2019. It has not been that low since December 1969. That's got to be good news for everybody, right? People working, that means a better economy for everyone. I would think most people would be on board with that. It should be bipartisan acceptance there. Most Democrats and Republicans would like to see everybody working. But since the coronavirus, unemployment has shot up. Still, the stock market is up over 50% since Election Day 2016. If there is improvement in the economy and coronavirus cases drop prior to the election, Trump could win more voters. Well, as we see, this was written, well before the election day. We're only one day before the election. And we know that coronavirus cases in this country are increasing. So Republicans might say, oh, that is fake news. That is the media, which I think most people would agree. Most media outlets are more Democratic. Certainly, we've talked about Fox News, definitely for Republicans. CNN, definitely for Democrats. CNN 10, though, is right down the middle. Because of where Democrats and Republicans are located around the nation, there is the possibility of a repeat of the 2016 election. Trump may lose the popular vote. Remember, we've talked about that. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but President Trump won the Electoral College, and that's what counts. So Trump may lose the popular vote, but he might win the Electoral College. Why Trump could lose, the last part. And there's only one picture on the last page, so we're just about done. Why Trump could lose. Despite a strong economy prior or before Corona, there is a continued feeling that many people have been left out. Income inequality has continued to increase. So another way to say that sentence would be that, excuse me, the rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer, according to some. The rich are getting richer while the national minimum wage of $7.25 an hour hasn't moved in a decade. Remember, a decade is 10 years. Though booming housing prices have benefited homeowners, younger Americans face job losses, low wages, heavy student loans, and lower chances to buy homes. They may see the American dream as slipping farther out of reach. Additionally, Trump's tax cuts have not been enough to make working class Americans feel they can pay for the things they need. And that seems like that might be a bit of an opinion because they're trying to talk about all working class Americans. I'm sure some working class Americans would feel that the tax cuts have helped. In the 2018 midterm elections, we haven't spoken about midterm elections. I do want to talk about that. But midterm elections happen the 2 years. So in between presidential elections, there are 4 years, right? There are 4 years. The last one was in 2016. 2018, there is midterm elections. And a lot of Senate seats are up for re-election in the midterms. So what could happen is the first 2 years a new president is in office. Let's take Trump, for example. President Trump is Republican. After those first 2 years, if the American people disagree with the job he's doing, we might see a lot of Republican senators and House of Representatives, they're all up in midterms. We might see a lot of seats change hands. Republicans might lose their reelection, and then they would be taken over by Democrats if the American people disagree. Now, that did happen in the House. The House went from Republican to Democrat majority, most. But the Senate stayed the same. So that would tell us that there were some people, quite a few, that were upset with President Trump's performance, but quite a few that actually liked it. So we didn't see a turnover in the Senate, only in the House. In the 2018 midterm elections, a decent number of Republican voters, especially suburban women, voted instead for Democratic lawmakers. If a Democratic candidate can appeal to these voters, they may have success. Additionally, if there are millions of people who are not registered to vote or do not vote, let me read that again. Additionally, there are millions of people who are not registered to vote or who do not vote. Democratic efforts to motivate those people could deliver the White House to a Democrat. Only 56% of voting age Americans voted in 2016. Right, so that is that article. I hope you have learned something from it. I hope my reading was okay. Hope my voice wasn't too bad. The last thing I'm going to ask you to do is to watch CNN 10. Head back to Zoom, and there is a link there for you. All right. Thanks for watching. And hopefully tomorrow I'll actually be able to read the Joe Biden article with you in class. See you later.